All right, hey guys, I have a 2005 Audi A6 with a 3.2 liter V6, and it's the C6 platform, okay? The issue that we were having, so the symptoms are gas gauge reading improperly. We were reading a quarter of a tank when we should have had 3/4 of a tank, and that was indicated by the odometer being at 186 miles. I usually get about 27 worst case, 32 best case scenario on the freeway here in Utah, where the elevation is 4,700 feet. Thinner air, better gas mileage, less wind resistance. Okay, so to diagnose the fuel gauge issue, here's what I did. Okay, on the rear seat, you pull up on the front, you push down on the back, and slide the seat toward the rear. Little trick of the trade. Use your leg as leverage up against the seat to push back, okay? So I've already pre-staged it. It's off. Here's what you're working with. This bar holds onto the back side of this T-shaped anchor right here in the back. So you want to push down and toward the rear of the car. Make sure you disconnect your heated seats. Okay. That exposes the fuel pump. Okay, so for the fuel pump, 3 simple screws, Phillips head, and that exposes your fuel pump. Okay, now right here you can see the anchor for the front, one on each side, passenger and driver, okay, and then the T anchor right here. All right, with the fuel pump exposed, it's typically green is what you're going to find if it's never been replaced. I got this one for $190 on Parts Geek, and I just went ahead and replaced it because I'm at 112,000 miles or so. Okay, you have a return line. These little butterfly tabs on the side, they push in and pull up slightly. This one's your pressure line, and then your electrical connector. Obviously for the fuel pump motor, but it also goes to the crossfeed to the other side where there's a fuel float assembly or sending unit, and it has a pressure and return that cross feeds to this one because of the straddle tank where the drive line goes between it. Okay, so the float assembly is on the far passenger side of this fuel pump. And if you'll follow me over here real quick, this is what you're looking at. Your return, your pressure, electrical connector, and here's your float assembly. This is the culprit. This is what I'm trying to diagnose. Okay? So whether it was a mechanical failure where it stuck, or an electrical failure where the connection just broke down, it was only reading 1/4 of a tank when it should have been reading full. All right, so to the point. Here's the diagnostic. When you get in the car, turn your key to the accessory position. I was reading 1/4 of a tank, which I truly am at now after draining the tank. But I knew I should have been at 3/4. So I reached to the rear with the car in the accessory position, and I just simply took my drill, doesn't matter what you tap it with, and I just tapped on it. And as soon as I did, I watched my fuel go from 1/4 of a tank all the way up to 3/4. I was at 186 miles, so I knew that was accurate. Whether it reconnected the whether it reestablished some electrical connection or it freed up a physical stuck float, it was a diagnostic of that float assembly. So that was the ghetto / redneck / shady tree mechanic way of diagnosing it. Anyway, went ahead and did the fuel pump assembly. Like I said, I was at 112,000 miles. I did the float on this side. So we have $100 for the float, $100 for the float, about $200 for the fuel pump. That put me at around $400. And then, okay, hopefully you don't get motion sickness because I'm going to show you one last thing. The last thing I did was Okay, so now this is where we're working. Directly below the fuel pump is the fuel filter. And I just went ahead and replaced that as well for $36 at Parts Geek as well. Okay, and so hopefully that helps you in some way to diagnose the fuel float assembly for an improper fuel gauge reading. There was almost no other literature on it. One guy started a video, he had the fuel pump out and he was diagnosing it with a multimeter and stuff. I don't got that kind of time, and in some cases don't even have the equipment. But anyway, okay, hope that helped. Fuel pump assembly, fuel pump float assembly or fuel sending unit diagnostic on a C6 Audi A6.